Hi, and welcome to the CDNify podcast, where we discuss all things related to front-end optimization, web performance, and emerging technologies.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I'm joined with Hampton Catlin. He's the founder of Sass, Haml, Mooveweb, and also the author of The Pragmatic Guide to Sass. Today we're going to be talking about mobile web development, Sass, and his upcoming ventures. So, to get things started, do you mind telling everyone a little bit about yourself, Hampton?
I think you did a pretty good job just then. I'm Hampton. I'm best known as the creator of Sass. And I'll get this right out of the way so it doesn't. It always comes up. I am not actually a front-end developer. So the guy who came up with Sass, my main job is not actually writing CSS. That's probably the thing people don't know about me the most, because sometimes I'll go to a conference and somebody will come up to me like, okay, me and my friend have this debate and we are either nesting our classes this way or that way. And I'm like, no, you need Chris there. Go find him somewhere. I'll help you out. I'm not that guy. But yeah, I'm the CTO of Mooveweb. We'll talk about it a little later, but I'm the CEO of the newly created GeneHub. I also did a thing called Haml, which is a pretty popular Rails templating language, and Wikipedia Mobile, and I do a bunch of random stuff. You'd probably see me at a conference. I do that a lot. That's a really stirring bio I have, I think. Dramatic.
Yeah. Well, this moves on nicely with my next question, because I think a lot of people who get started in web development, or in your case back-end web development, are self-taught. Using learn videos online and stuff like that, and practicing. But I'm curious how you got into it and what helped you when you were first starting out.
Yeah, so there's obviously, sorry. I always find this topic difficult, because in some ways I am self-taught and in other ways I am incredibly not self-taught. It's so funny. I think we can make our own mythologies. Most people I've met who say, "Oh, I'm self-taught," there's usually a lot of caveats to that. They didn't usually just kind of in a cave, stumble upon a book and then read it and then just understand computers magically, or just somehow through osmosis. Usually there's a mentor or somebody else who kind of introduces you, whether it's a friend or something. Mm-hmm. Ironically for me, even though I don't believe that, I did actually just find a book when I was 8 years old. It was an Apple basic programming book, and I didn't have a working computer at that time. And I read it, and it was like reading the most exciting thing. What a nerd I was, because it was just the most exciting book. It was like describing how the universe worked to me. I'm not that good at math. I was always last picked in math elites or whatever that we would do in school. I was always last picked because I'm terrible. But all of a sudden, reading this book, it was like an if statement and logic, and I was like, this is, yes, this makes so much sense.
It just clicked.
Yeah, so in a way, I guess that's self-taught. But then, I ended up taking courses in university, and actually my high school offered C and Java classes, and so I did that. It was and it was really easy and fun for me. Mm-hmm. But it comes from a lot of, not to get political, but a lot of privilege I had going to science museums, and my parents being very logical and supportive. So it's weird. It's not a clear line to draw, because obviously I kind of taught myself, but I already had the backing and the education to do that. But web development specifically was actually a funny story. I made this website early on. I did something in high school. It wasn't really, but my first year of university was 2001. I put up a stupid website where you could apologize to cows for eating them. It was a tongue-in-cheek comedy website where you're like, sorry, cow, I ate you, but I'm still going to eat you because I don't have any other choice, and you are delicious. So it was this kind of dark humor website I put up, and it went crazy. It got all over LiveJournal, and people had these little badges on their LiveJournals back then. It was I've apologized to the cows, have you? And we got 500,000 people kind of signed this apology letter. And that was when I got addicted to the web. That was that was one of those amazing moments of my life, because I had this funny joke that I just thought was kind of a stupid, dark joke to make. And then I spent a weekend and put up a website, and then 500,000 people thought it was funny enough to enter their email address. Like, for no value. I mean, there were more people looked at it, or I guess laughed at the joke. I guess some people got offended.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that was amazing. The like impact you could have on the world around you was just shocking. Like 500,000 people. That is like, you're in Manchester, right? That's that's like 500,000 people in that metro area, right? Something like that, maybe a little more. But like, that everyone in Manchester laughed at once because you did something. Like, and that's the power of the web. Like,
that's pretty cool. Is it still live now?
No, and I do have some like fragments of the HTML left.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I should like rebuild it and put it back up. But the domain got bought by whatever, one of those spam bots, and I don't feel like negotiating with them for my sorrycow.com domain. I should look if it's on the way back machine. It might be.
Yeah, I was actually going to say you can probably just view it on there.
Yeah, we can put that on the blog if we can find the link. You can laugh at Hampton's first internet joke.
You've done some pretty impressive stuff, as I mentioned before, creating Sass and Haml, and you're the founder of Mooveweb, and you're even...
Not the founder of Mooveweb. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, not the you're the CTO of Mooveweb. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And you've even wrote a book about Sass as well. So where do you find the time, and what's your workflow like when it comes to building stuff?
That's tough. I guess so. I believe in quantum realities a lot. I guess this has already come up, whether or not I taught myself or learned from other people, and I guess I'm really okay with that. So there kind of being two states at once, two things are true. I'm one of the hardest working people I know, and I'm also one of the laziest people I know. So Sass, I wrote the first two commits, which kind of outlined a class structure, and then I had a sample language files. And then I spent a while convincing Natalie Weizenbaum that she should work on the project. And then she wrote the whole thing and has continued to develop it and add amazing features that I never thought of. So it's like, that's very lazy. Like, the amount of coding time. I mean, I put a lot of time in the Sass community and discussing language features, but the actual, hours I spend on my weekends doing, programming on Sass. I'm not the open source project runner. So I am pretty lazy in that way.
I think a lot.
But again, I don't know.
I was going to say that a lot of that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's a good thing, because it's like you want to work out a problem, but you're trying to do it in the easiest possible way.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm a problem solver is typically like, and I like to solve real world problems that I see around me. Like, I just get a lot of joy from that. And I can't stop making things. I mean, I think that's it's all about different skill sets, right? So I try to work with people who have very different skill sets than me. And Natalie is a great example of that. I tend to be really high level, and I tend to be like big idea, and I can push things through. And I tend to talk to a lot of people and, change things and whatever. I'm not somebody who goes through and reviews tickets. Like, it's not in me. It's probably why I was bad at maths when I was a kid. But yeah, no, my workflow, I do a lot of thinking in the shower. I think that's true. That is where I do most of my thinking in the morning. I dream up a lot of the stuff I work on. So, most of my, when you actually look at the stuff I've done, especially Mooveweb, and then, so I also built Wikipedia Mobile, and ran that for 3 years. So, it was only me on the team. Like, I was project lead of an open source project with some awesome committers. Like, there's a guy named Dirk Jan who is involved in the VLC community, and he was helping out a lot. But I was responsible for running the 3 servers that did all 2 billion monthly page views for Wikipedia Mobile. So I spend a lot of my time, most of my intellectual time is actually put towards stuff like scaling and security, which doesn't sound very exciting. But that is kind of where I spend time in my shower, working on things, because you kind of got to make stuff fast and stable and redundant. It's not the sexy side of inventing stuff. It's cool to build a whiz bang thing, but you kind of got to make it work, and then work when it's popular, and then not end up. Did they have Friendster in the UK?
They
It was the
they
it was
don't actually. I think that's just an American thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was, and then they did not scale. I mean, Facebook only exists because Friendster totally screwed up on scaling. Like, it was 10, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40-second load time. I mean, it just, like, everyone was like, I cannot use this website. This is horrible. And it wasn't even bloated CSS. It was just they literally, it was 2002, I guess, and they just, web scale was not a thing that people knew how to build.
I actually think that's still, I think that's still around now, Friendster.
No, they shut it back down.
Yeah. Well, MySpace is still going, so that's something.
Well, I went and downloaded it recently. They sent out, or it was maybe a couple of years ago. They sent out an email like you can. Oh, it's now a games community. So I just loaded it up.
Oh.
Weird. It's like one of those online play game. Anyhow, no, but they let you download all the data before they fully shut it down. So, anyhow, Bebo will be sending out that email anytime.
It's important for devs to get noticed, to showcase their work. But what ways do you think work best, such as working on open source projects, GitHub profiles, portfolio sites, or just a good old-fashioned CV?
So I would, CV is not the right answer.
Yeah.
No, look, obviously doing open source work, I mean, like, just having a Git profile, like, I get it, when I get a resume and it just has a Git profile and there's nothing on it, or sorry, GitHub profile and it has nothing on it. I mean, obviously seeing people do open source work, I mean, I don't, it's clearly a way to find talented people with extra time. And that's awesome. Like, I give a thumbs up to hiring those people. I think if you don't have the time to go do that stuff, the easiest way to break in, at least like to getting a good job and stuff, is go to conferences and get drunk with people or like go meet people. I think drinking is my number one tip for how to make it in the tech community. I might get lambasted for that one. It's not a healthy option, but no, it's one of those things where just being, I mean, it's my joking way of saying just become friends, and you can. And conferences really are the best way to do that. And it's always hard, even for me, like I don't know, I probably do like 14 conferences a year or something like that. And like, even, like I'm a pretty outgoing guy, but like before going to the after parties, I'm always like, oh, like, okay, Hampton, go talk to people, like be nice. But even so for me, that's been, going to those conferences and just going to the after party and just introducing myself to people. Which, I mean, I guess at this point in my career, it's kind of fun because at some point they go, oh, you're that Hampton. Which is kind of a fun moment now, but no, it's just going and being friends with people. It's amazing how many people I've met, and then they end up doing cool stuff, and then I end up helping them on their stuff, or they help me, and then like just knowing people. Like, if you don't like committing to other people's code is kind of the super digital way to become friends. Like, Natalie started working on my projects just because she started patching, sending them in, and they were awesome, and I just kept saying yes, oh, this is awesome, yes, 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 and then finally I was like, commit access, and then she just kind of took over Haml and obviously built Sass then later. And it was like, that was a way to build a friendship in a digital way. Like, we'd never met, like, actually we met the first time when I convinced her to code the compiler for Sass. No, but like, it's a way to become friends, to make that network. Like, that's the important stuff. Or like, even if you're not in a big city or you can't afford to go to a conference, like there's usually free meetups. Like in Toronto, Pete Ford, he started, it was actually, well, this is how I got my career started. So I guess I did it this way, was I was just reading Rails books, and I was going to a school that, I was trying to, well, it's a long story, but I was trying to go back to school, because I discovered that back in 2003, it was kind of hard to get a job as a programmer with nothing on your CV and no degree. So I tried going back to school and quickly got frustrated. But then I got this email, oh, we're doing a Rails pub night, no talks. We're just going to all meet up at a pub and meet each other in Toronto, where I was living at the time. And like, I ended up, I mean, the people I met that night, I still like they are integral to my life and my career still today. Like, and it's just going out to those events, like, or putting them on. If your local area doesn't have it, just put together a little meetup.
Yeah, I think you can use. I mean, you could probably use Meetup.com. Like, I'm sure there's loads of places on there where it's like, I think there's places in Manchester actually where you can go and meet up devs and just go to the pub or like.
Yes. So that's, and I would say I find a mistake that a lot of young developers make is they kind of go to conferences or meetups and only like they focus on the educational aspect, which is cool, but blog posts are great also. Like, you can learn a lot faster in a blog post. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I like speaking at conferences. I like listening to the talks, but I've seen people kind of trade thinking that they're there for class instead of trying to meet people and make connections. And I know it's hard for people. Like, if it's hard for me, I can only imagine how hard it is for an actually shy person. So I'm not trying to downplay the difficulty there, but try going to a meetup where they don't do highly structured things. There are some programmers, for some reason, analytical people, if there isn't an agenda, we get really upset. It doesn't seem like a real thing.
Well, I think most conferences have like kind of like an after party or like an event afterwards where they just go after they've had the talk and they go to the pub then. Yeah.
Yep,
Like,
those are and then like just go meet people and then go hang out with them, try to get dinner with them. Like, even if you feel like you're pushing in a little bit, come find me at a conference if I'm speaking there. I will talk to you. We will be friends. Like, I'm a normal person. I'm not like some crazy person. Like, but that's the important. Sorry, that is my number one tip to people. Like, it's these connections, and people will support you in building a community that exists online and in the real world.
Yeah. You previously mentioned that you've just announced a new project that focuses on personal genomics. Care to talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's my new startup. So I'm going to be I'm still associated with Mooveweb, but today I'm still the CTO. But I'll be kind of transferring away. That Mooveweb's in awesome shape, and that's been my like baby for the last 3.5. Actually, I guess coming up on 4 years in November. And I've helped build that company from 7 people to like 150, and European whatever group now, and we have all this coolness going on, and that's still all going well. I just I always wanted to do my own startup, and actually when I first started in Mooveweb, my husband Michael had just quit was just quitting his PhD at Cambridge, and he actually started working for Mooveweb too. So we both worked there, and we kind of said, look, all right, for a year, maybe a year and a half, we will dedicate our lives to helping get Mooveweb where it needs to be. And then they were like, and after that, we're going to do our own thing. Well, turns out it was way more exciting working like Moovewebs. We do like cool mobile web stuff and help these companies. We built this crazy platform that's like way bigger than what I built at Wikimedia Mobile. And so we kind of got like, a lot of time passed like without noticing, because we were just like having an awesome time. But we finally decided like, okay, all right, we have to put brakes on this. It's time to do our own thing. And so what we're doing is we're co-founding a company called GeneHub, and I just announced it last week at HybridConf in Sweden. So it's basically there's no way today to get your whole genome sequenced for a consumer or a regular person. So that, the Human Genome Project that the U.S. government did from 1990 to I think it was 2001 cost $2 billion. And they basically sequenced roughly one person for $2 billion. And what's happened is technology has gotten a lot better. Actually, sequencer technology is currently beating Moore's Law, like really, really beating it. Like it's more than exponential at the drop in cost. So, but what's happened is that normal people don't know this, and they don't have any access to it. So we're going to be offering the first kind of consumer-oriented full genome sequencing service, where other services like 23andMe do what are called SNPs. They're like, it's about 0.001% of your whole genome is what they're doing, because it's a genetic test is what they're doing. They're just looking for certain flags kind of in your DNA. Actually, and the way they do it, the way that most lab research is currently done, because it's all been done without the ability for us to have a lot of people be sequenced. So when they do research on, heart disease or something, they're only doing these limited tests. And I guess, how do I say this? The thing they're testing for isn't the cause. We don't actually know what's causing the heart disease. They just happen to know that there's a correlation between this letter being a T or an A or whatever, like the flip of a code. It's usually not the thing that makes a difference, if that makes sense. Like, it's just a flag. It happens to usually be associated with. But what we're really excited about is we think when you can do the whole genome, and we give this out to citizen scientists, so normal people who, are slightly nerdy and want to, hack their own code and figure out how this works, because there's so much we don't know. And currently it's only being done either by super large corporations that are patenting everything they can find, or academic researchers who only publish every 6 years and jealously guard their results.
Can people actually sign up for it? No, is there a landing page people can hit?
So there's a landing page at it's currently gene-hub.com, and if you're the owner of genehub.com, I'll be in contact soon. Yeah, so we're getting the trademark sorted out. It's just a blank website at genehub.com without a dash. So yeah, luckily there's good rules on the internet to help with that. So we will soon be GeneHub, I think. But it's currently Gene-Hub, and so we're not doing sign up yet. It should be in the middle of September. We're actually going to do a Kickstarter, because the way we're doing this is there are these labs that exist. They're research labs, right? They're ISO, some digits I don't have in front of me right now, like all officialed up. And they've bought these super cutting edge machines that cost about $10 million. And they're actually so high productivity, these machines, that they're not getting used all the time, because they can do about 200 people a day, I think, is their maximum throughput. And right now, since it's kind of just researchers, they don't have 200 a day. So because it's just, who are we putting through this? And have we talked to them yet? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get enough bulk so that we can, we've got kind of already got deals made with the labs, but we're going to basically be kind of selling their capacity through us. And then we're building the platform too. Nobody actually has a way to host any of this data right now. There are a couple services maybe that if you go to your doctor, and sorry, in the UK, there's nobody you can talk to, and you get blood drawn and you sign enough contracts, and it's like $10,000 or more is the current what's maybe there if you went to couple of these companies. But they don't really want to do it anyway. It's so weird. But they literally give you a link to an FTP file.
Really?
That's what you get at the end, and then you download it, and then there's this 6 gigabyte file in your computer that you can't do anything with. So we're building this kind of analytics platform basically for you to research and control your own genome. So if you want to make it available to your friend who's working on something, or if you want to make it available for researchers and say, hey, look, actually, I'm totally willing to help with cancer research. I'll answer any questions that you want to send to me. You can do that. If you want to try to learn a little bit more about yourself and look for unique mutations that you have that nobody else does, we'll kind of have that available also. So there's a lot of, nobody has a platform like that right now. It's insane how many FTP servers exist out there. Like, biotechnology is the most backwater part of technology that currently is existing. It's really sad. Do you know how, if you go to the UK national database too for genomic information, they have what they call an API, and it is just a username and password to log in to their MySQL server.
Really?
Yes, it is just you directly connect with read abilities to their MySQL server, and you just write your own SQL code. That's their quote unquote API. No permissions, no privileges, no security roles, no nothing. It's so crazy. It's like some sort of weird dream.
Yeah.
So we're going to be working on that stuff.
So GeneHub will be worldwide then, so anyone can access it and use it then.
I wish I had my lawyer here.
Well, you don't need to answer that.
No. It's not like I can't answer it. No, this is really, really, like, the laws aren't written for this stuff.
Right.
So most laws and kind of privacy laws and medical laws are very much about you going to your practitioner, right? Like you go into your GP, they write down some stuff about your health. And it's within your country. Nobody's really, I mean, so we're going to be making it available worldwide. And we're pretty sure we're in pretty solid ground because I don't think there's any laws that stop somebody from spitting into something and then mailing it to somebody else with full knowledge that you're doing that.
Yeah, if you give them consent, I imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but this could get complicated in the future. I mean, we're really hoping it doesn't. So I think, yeah, I mean, we haven't announced this yet, but I think we are going to be making this available for anyone in the world. But you do kind of have to say, look, I'm sending this to U.S. jurisdiction. Like, yeah. This will be governed by HIPAA and some of the other American laws, and I know that.
Well, yeah, that's to be honest, that's great. I mean, like everyone has access to it then.
Right. Well, the right people. So we're going to do like kind of an OAuth like interface so that you can kind of control. Like we know some people don't want anybody ever looking at it, but myself, I want to be open source. Like I don't consider, just because I'm a weirdo, but I don't actually consider my health information all that private. Like I have anxiety and some depression. Mm-hmm. I have ADHD. That's about it. Sometimes I get headaches. And I mean, whatever. Like, if I had cancer, I'd be live tweeting having cancer. Yeah, I guess I'm of the generation. And, it depends. People are different.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I think it depends who the person is really. But like, I think a lot of people would be open with that stuff. It just depends on the person.
Right, and I think there'll always be people. I mean, and I'm fine. Like, we totally support the idea of complete and total privacy on this stuff. We also, it's so funny that when you look at there are people who have made their genomes available on the internet, typically through universities. So a couple universities have you can download a sample genome, just one though, so those are all completely anonymized, and you can't usually get any health information because it's it's weird. It's kind of open, but it's not. Like it's kind of useless to see a genome and not know anything about the person. That's not super useful for running an algorithm or kind of finding out something about somebody. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I didn't mention, so we're going to be doing it for $3,490, which is roughly, we're less than half the cost of, even if you could somehow wrangle to convince one of these labs to do it. Because we really want, we think this is like getting the first personal computer. There's not a ton you can do with it today. There's no magic program to run on your genome today that's like a killer, use case. But there's so much we don't know, and so much discovery needs to be made. And we think that kind of literally the fate of mankind is kind of baked into figuring this stuff out, and medicine and everything. And there's just mysteries. Biologists don't know how a lot of this stuff works.
Yeah, I think it's a good door to open. I mean, it's a good starting point.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why we want to get 3,000 is about what the early personal computers were sold for. So in our heads, that was our goal. It was can we make this? Can we do a high quality product and get it to the price of? It's kind of the expensive hobbyist who's willing to buy an expensive quadcopter or something. It's a little fun thing, but it could turn into something serious later.
Uh-huh. Yeah, totally. I mean, that sounds really exciting. I mean, you said it was mid-September that it was going to be.
Yeah, so we're just, what we're doing? We're doing Kickstarter video is the hardest part about doing a Kickstarter.
the Kickstarter video.
Yeah, so we're working with the guys at Less Films who they film a bunch of different conferences and do stuff, and they're good friends of ours. So we're working with them right now on a video. That's the one thing. We got pricing done, we got our contracts done, we've got our compliance done. Oh my gosh, so many lawyers. I've talked to so many lawyers recently. It's like a whole battery of lawyers. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Yeah, that's very exciting to me. I mean, I think I'll be one of the people that signs up.
Yes.
Straight away.
Yes.
You've got to sign up straight away.
Perfect.
Right. So moving on to my next question. For those that don't know, Haml is a HTML markup language designed to make code simple and easy to read. What was your motivation for building this language, and how has it helped devs out there?
So yeah, so my motivation was I was a junior programmer in Toronto. This was like after I went to that Rails pub night, I met some guys who were starting a small shop, and they hired me, and I immediately was frustrated with the quality of markup. They'd all kind of switched from .NET to Ruby, and the quality of the HTML they were writing was just sad. Like the developers would just kind of, like in old PHP ways, you just kind of just dump dynamic content onto a page, and they wouldn't structure it logically. Yeah. And our designers would try to style it and go, I have no idea what you were doing here. I have to rewrite all this. Mm-hmm. So Haml was actually, I wanted to force people on my team. Well, I guess I was the junior developer, but whatever. I'm an opinionated guy. But I was like, I wanted to make people have to do good structured code. Also, I felt like at that time being a full-time web developer, I just wrote so much HTML. And it drove me crazy, like closing tags all the time.
Yeah.
The language wasn't, most people think they either think I'm a Python programmer because it's white space sensitive, or they think it was just kind of about brevity was the only reason. Like, I don't like typing kind of thing, like I'm a Vim user.
Yeah.
I'm not a Vim user, and I don't use Python. I'm fine typing a lot. I don't even have shortcuts when I do command line work. I just type out the whole command. Yeah, I don't like.
That's weird.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I just want it. I guess what I like is obviousness is actually my main thing that I usually go for in tools. Like, it just needs to make sense. And Haml can look crazy to a lot of people. If the listeners out there haven't seen it, it is an exotic language. It kind of looks like CSS ran into Python and YAML and then just kind of popped out something. But then once you learn to read it, it's kind of built on really quickly writing good code with good class names, good IDs, well structured. Since it's white space sensitive, I really wanted the structure to have to be super clear. It's actually designed so that you scan the left-hand side. Like, so you think of it, it's kind of indented, right? Mm-hmm. And you really just scan along the left-hand side to see what's happening. So if it's a dynamic line, is this a static line? Is this a meta tag? And that you could kind of just do this really quickly when you train your eye how to do it. It is one of those languages that is, I would say, it's probably used by 50% of Rails programmers now, which is cool. And then the other 50% hate it.
Why is that?
Well, so it looks weird, and I think people don't like. Usually, when it's foisted upon you,
because they're not used to it. That's
yeah, and they're just like. I mean, I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, I actually started using it and then I hated it." I mean, I think it's one of those things you have to learn. And when another developer, like, let's say you come onto a project and they were using Haml, and you're like, "Okay, I'll just make this one line change," and then you open it up, and here's this like crazy white space sensitive thing. Yeah. You're not sure exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, it's like knowing JavaScript very well, and then running into something like CoffeeScript. Yeah, and then it's like what? What's going on? I don't.
Well, I mean, I am proud to say that Haml's listed as one of the influences of CoffeeScript. No, but I am proud that there's a lot like the thing I'm really proud about Haml is that it was a crazy thought that was just one I didn't think anybody else would like, and I put it out there, and other people liked it, and now there's like a whole class of languages that are Haml-like, so it's more like I'm really proud that like Sass also was like the first CSS preprocessor. Like those are the things that I want written on my grave. Like he thought of things slightly before other people. Like that's the thing I'm most proud of. Like Sass and Haml don't have to be the most popular languages. But I'm glad at least there was a conversation about, what should HTML look like? Like, maybe it's fine how it is. If that's the outcome, that's awesome. I mean, I don't really have a particular passion on it. I just kind of knew what I liked, and I had a crazy idea, and I wanted to see if it worked.
So it seems like you just developed it for yourself then, and then
I really did.
Yeah, and that's a good way to approach it. And then it picked up momentum really, and yeah, like. If it inspired CoffeeScript, then yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and a couple other weird languages. Well, like Slim, and there's some other ones. There's different.
Slim.
Every little language, like .NET. There's like a couple similar styled things over there. Like I don't know the names of them, but like if you're a .NET programmer, you know.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to my next question. Sass is evolving super fast. Just the other week, version 3.4 was released, which begs to question if CSS will ever catch up. Do you think Sass and CSS will ever be on par with one another?
No. No, yeah. So actually, I just recently gave a talk on this. It was my first time talking about it. So I feel pretty up on discussing this angle. Because it's a question we get a lot. So Chris Epstein, who's one of the core team members of SAS, spent a long time working with the W3C. Just kind of trying to be like, hey, guy, like, what's going on over there? Like, is this, have you considered some of these features? I mean, because SAS was really me building I was upset at the CSS developer I was working with. I saw them having to repeat code a lot and just do a lot of really horrible things. And I thought, wait, we can make this so much easier. I don't know if it makes sense that the browser would have to deal with things like loops and mix-ins and libraries. One of the nice parts about a preprocessor of any sort, or a compiler really of any sort, is that you can kind of include large libraries and then only use small bits and throw away everything else. So when you're using SAS frameworks, a lot of times you only use 3 mix-ins, and it's fine. The browser doesn't care; it never knows. So, by the time it gets to the browser, you just declared a color. They don't care that it was put through, whatever, some crazy cool framework you built. So it's kind of nice in a way. It's an assembly language. I'm pretty convinced these days, though, that we need to tear the house down when it comes to the browser and layouts. I don't think it's fixable. I think all that it takes is somebody using for me, I got convinced when I started using Apple's Swift, it's kind of their new constraint-based layout tool. The web should be built with constraint-based layouts, 100%. That's how we should have built it in the beginning. There were proposals early on that it should be done that way, but it didn't make sense with the way the web looked back then. It was overkill. So they just said, let's do a kind of a flow-based layout. We'll just kind of, float things and whatever. Well, then it started getting crazy, right? And now we're left with this, it's not CSS. CSS is just how you describe some attributes of what's going on in the DOM. I think the DOM layout controls need to totally be thrown out. I think we need to rethink some of this. Maybe we can do it as a layer, something like a cool JavaScript library. I know that there's, I don't remember the name of the guys who did it. Sorry, but there is a kind of, somebody monkey patched into CSS using JavaScript. The original proposed spec that was proposed for the kind of constraint-based flow. I think it's a little monkey patched on, in my opinion. But I'm just at this point, I think that the way we have designed the browser to do layouts, I'm glad we have all these acid tests, we solved a lot of the craziness. That's cool. I'm sorry for proposing something so crazy, but I think we need to throw it out. Because the multiple screens, the crazy layouts we're doing, the multiple devices. Forget multiple sizes. Responsive web design's cute and all, with multiple screen sizes and popping, which I hate. I hate if somebody out there has a design that pops too much. I hate you. It should flow nice. It should flow. It should just go mobile all of a sudden, bam. I hate that.
Well, I thought that's the idea with responsive design, and that's the cure, really. That's what a lot of developers, I would assume that's what a lot of developers would think.
Yeah, responsive is a funny beast. I would say I'm both. There's parts of responsive that are obvious, and of course I completely agree with. There's other parts that I think are extremely naive, which I really dislike. The kind of media queries will save us all, and that that every website should you should be skilled enough to use media queries to build a perfectly responsive site. I think with today's tools, what responsive only people are proposing is basically websites that all look really the same and are super limited in what they can display. It's what it requires. Like there's a look that goes along with responsive websites because there's so much stuff you can't do. And then at Mooveweb, a lot of our customers they're porting older websites over, and you can't just like the structure of the HTML is so bound up in exactly how the reflow happens that it's just becomes a nightmare. And like, yes, you're fairly simple. You're like the Uber app can be done responsive or something like very clean, very small. And that's cool. I mean, that's the fashion. But at some point, we're going to have to, float an image in the middle and make that look okay. Like, we can't just have a design language where we say, well, the limitations of the layout engine are the fashion, and that's how we're just going to leave it forever. So that's where I mean, obviously, you should work on all screen sizes. That's the part that 100% I agree with. And obviously, having multiple markup, especially if it requires you kind of forking your code, is a terrible idea. But that's about where my total agreement ends.
Well, yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, it's very frustrating when you have to do something like that, like put like float an image or something like that. It can be a real headache, to be honest.
Right. Well, it's not full design mode. Like you can't build whatever you want. The designer has to know the intricacies of how HTML works and how the browser works, which is, I'm not saying the worst thing, but like, we can't have all art is now just this engineering level. Like, let's bring back the ability to do things. Like, I think I take myself as like a technical guardian. I'm a back-end developer, and I like to be a technical guardian of creative people. And that's why I kind of reject the idea that like, oh, no, yeah, you can't do that, but it's okay. Just do it this way. Like we need to make the tools work better for people.
Yeah. No, yeah.
For people more creative than engineers.
No, yeah, I completely agree. Actually, this ties in nicely with my next question. Sass was founded way back in, I think it was 2006? 2007? 2006, 2007? I've got 2006 here, actually.
I'm sure 6. I should look it up. I'm sorry. I'm not a numbers guy. I told you I did last.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was founded way back when and has grown enormously, sparking popular mixins and frameworks like Bourbon, Compass, and Suzy. I wondered if you have a favorite Sass framework or mixin that you like to use all the time.
They all do different things. I don't do a ton of front-end coding, but I pretty much always do. It's usually Bourbon. That's what I'm usually using.
Yeah, I think that's the most popular one, actually, Bourbon.
Well, it's just some mix-ins. I mean, I think, well, it now does a little bit. I mean, they've expanded it. But to me, it's just my little mini utility kit. Like, I'm not, Suzy's a little, since I'm not a full-time developer, like, I'm typically doing dumb, simple things with CSS. I mean, most of the time I spend with CSS or Sass is looking at, tickets or language debates about what's the most expressive way to create this CSS. So, I mean, but I typically just go with Bourbon because I don't have a lot of other strong opinions. Suzy's really cool, though. And, well, Chris knows my opinion about Compass, which is, and he agrees, it needs to get broken up. I mean, it's cool that whatever you use is all, like, it doesn't all necessarily have to get added to your browser. Like I said, with frameworks kind of being optional. But it is a memory hog because of loading and all those things. But he does get to do some cool stuff like prefixing, which the prefixing now is dynamic. So based on the popularity of various, you can say I want 90% support, and that means it'll only use the prefixes required to get 90% support. And if you said, I'm fine with only cutting edge browsers working, then it won't prefix anything for you automatically. So it's kind of got this dark magic built in. It actually uses the caniuse.com data on each update to change what gets included at what rate. So that's cool dark magic. So I run the libsass project, the C port. That's been my kind of latest thing. And just to get it way faster, it's a C++ port of Sass that can be embedded into any language, and including browsers. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But Compass is all in, like a lot of it's in Ruby because it's doing these kind of dark magic things. So it's really hard to port kind of what is Compass, it's mixins, it's all these other things. I mean, if you're a Ruby-based SaaS developer, you're using the Compass command line, like use Compass. Why not? Like it's got everything. It was the first of its kind, and it is well constructed, and Chris and his team are awesome. But I'm just kind of late. Bourbon works with libsass, so I just drop it in.
Mooveweb focuses on delivering one unified experience across any device, but that doesn't come without its obstacles. With more devices like smartwatches and eyewear like Google Glass, what challenges does it face?
Yeah, so Mooveweb is kind of it's based off the work I did at Wikimedia Foundation, and it's kind of a reusable platform and toolkit. So the way it really works is that based on the device, which at this point the main ways we know what device it is the user agent, but there's other much more elegant ways in JavaScript to do this. But based on the device, we kind of customize the output and the markup. So you can float that picture in the middle if you need to, but mostly based on just a different device, not just a screen size. Well, because typically, people aren't grabbing their desktop browser windows and resizing them unless they're just testing their friend's website. Like you're just, usually on desktop, you have your browser open is a browser size. Mm-hmm. And so we basically help customers rework their existing websites and new ones to kind of customize the content as it flows out to the device. So like, oh, it's this. Well, let's just change these parts here, or include a different style sheet, or a whole different redesign. So one of the things that we do a lot are 8B tests. With Mooveweb, it's actually really easy to do a full redesign A/B test. So I mean, one of the philosophies with Mooveweb though is since we can customize the markup on the fly, stuff like smartwatches is the stuff where Mooveweb works the best. I mean, obviously, so it's funny. Smart devices are funny because they just don't speak the web. I mean, any sort of web that we know, the like HTML web. They maybe, Google Glass uses a form of HTML, sort of, but they do not speak. You can't go to a web page on them currently. I think that'll change. Mm-hmm. But with Mooveweb, we can take a page and turn it into like voice XML. Like that's fine. You can transform it into kind of anything you need. It's not just for redesigns or mobile stuff, but obviously the big use case is mobile. Since a lot of companies have put billions of dollars into websites, and it's funny working with big companies. You really realize why rewriting and rebuilding websites as a large company costs so much, because there's so many jurisdictions and groups and departments and people, and the concerns actually really matter though a lot, which is funny. Like somebody coded years ago a contractual exception or something into like a deal they have with a audio company. I don't know, whatever. Like some site has some weird exception in it, and when you try to rewrite it, you all of a sudden break the contract with that company, and you didn't know it, because the guy who wrote it is long gone, and nobody remembers that contract. So it's tough. So yeah, I mean, so Mooveweb we focus a lot on varying the HTML in order to kind of change things on the fly, because at the current moment, if you work in a big business and you're a front-end developer, you have zero power to change the markup on the site.
Yeah, you just sort of you have to go with the flow, don't you, really?
Well, you have to go with the back-end developers only. So you can write up some HTML you need, like here's how it should look, and then you send it to them, and then 9 months later, after you get the budget, they start working on it, and then they send you the final product, and then if they did it wrong in any way, you have to, reschedule the whole thing for another 9-month dev cycle. Where at Mooveweb, it's really a tool for front-end developers, so it's like you can just go change the markup, and it takes about 2 weeks to redesign a whole website instead of like 9 months. And it seems to work, so it's been really fun because it's funny. Companies don't believe us. Like you're like, oh no, we can redesign. Like you can redesign your website in 2 weeks, and they're like, no, you can't. It's like, yes, no, you actually can. And so actually, the Mooveweb sales process is when a customer calls us up, we actually we have 2 engineers who are front end developers who just go redesign the website in a day. Like, you can get most of it done. There's always edge cases. This is what the 2 weeks are, right? Mm-hmm. So in like a day they go build a full demo of the live website actually working, the real website. Like, you can book flights when we do it for an airline, and it works. And that's our sales process, because we just do it, and because they didn't believe us otherwise. So yeah, it's kind of cool. So it's a cool business to be in.
That's cool. What's like when a clients usually clients have usually phoned you up and asked about Mooveweb and like how long it would take, like what's like what do they expect?
Well, they expect 9 to 12 months. I mean, that's what they're like. A lot of our business is the kind of working with marketing people who are fed up because the backend rewrite. We're upgrading to Java 6, and that's going to take the whole year. Mm-hmm. And the marketing team's like, but we're rebranding. Like, I don't care about your Java 6 upgrade. And there's a good reason why they're upgrading their Java. So I don't mean to make fun of the backend, because it actually matters. This stuff makes a lot of money and it's important. But so a lot of times those are the people who want it fast. When we work with the engineering teams themselves, they expect it to take kind of 9 months or so. It doesn't. But it's funny, we have had, we typically try to say the time is longer in order. I mean, there is like if, training and time like that has to kind of be factored in. Yeah. It's not so bad. It's mostly just CSS. But when we're working with them, we typically try to double our times that we say, just because, they don't believe you otherwise.
Yeah, just so you have some. Yeah, I mean, like, it could be buffer time as well, but like, I mean, even when you said edge cases were like 2 weeks, that's still short space of time, really.
It just completely. I mean, it is insanely faster, and pretty robust too. I mean, we run. I think we have 300 live corporations. I think it's like major. I don't mean just their corporate websites, but like Macy's.com is run through us. Like a bunch of kind of major companies, and I've been up till now. I'm kind of glad to now pass on the responsibility. We've never had any downtime on our system, and I'm very glad to be passing on that responsibility to somebody else, because it's made a fun past 3 years.
Well, you're moving on to GeneHub now, so
exactly. Like, if somebody can't access their genome for like an hour, they'll be fine. Yeah. If somebody can't buy something on Macy's, it's kind of a big deal.
I think the entire marketing team would be like going crazy. Like,
and security is just as important on both. So whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's been great talking to you, and thanks for coming onto the podcast, Hampton. And I can't wait to see GeneHub.
Yeah, GeneHub.com, and follow me at Catlin, because I'm funny on Twitter. All right, thanks, Jesse.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out more great podcasts over on CDNify.com/blog.